You're standing on the first tee, you crush it dead center, the swing feels perfect. Then you find the ball 40 yards short of where it used to sit 10 years ago. That gap is not your swing. I measured it, and part of that lost distance is sitting in your hands right now. Here is the verdict up front. 5 of the most popular drivers in the bag of the average senior golfer are quietly costing you 20 to 30 yards a carry, and I ranked them from the worst offender to the one that gave me back nearly all of it. Every number you are about to hear came off a launch monitor swung at 85 miles per hour, not the 110 a Tour Pro brings, because that is the speed that actually matters to you and me. Stick with me to the end, because the number one pick is built around a single fitting fact buried in robot test data that almost no one over 50 has ever been told, and it is something you can change this weekend without buying anything. I want you thinking about where your current driver lands on this list. And I promise you this applies to the swing you have today, the slower tempo, the shorter backswing, all of it. I remember the exact round this hit me 2 summers back, a par 4 I have played 1,000 times, a marker post I always cleared off the tee. I striped one, walked up, and my ball was a full 7 paces behind that post. I didn't say a word to my buddies. I just stood there doing the math in my head, and it made me sick. That night I started measuring everything, and what I found is why I am making this video. Let me start at the bottom. The worst offender, the 5th place driver, the one doing the most damage, is the older tour-style low-spin driver that so many of us bought because a professional we admired put it in play. I am talking about those deep-faced, compact-head drivers from roughly 2016 through 2019 that were engineered to reduce spin for players swinging over 100 miles an hour. On paper, they sound like pure performance. In your hands, they are a distance thief. Here is why. A low spin head launches the ball with somewhere around 1,700 to 2,000 revolutions per minute when a fast player hits it. That is ideal for them. But when I swung one of these at 85 miles an hour, my spin dropped to about 1,700 RPM with a launch angle of only 10 degrees. That combination does not carry. The ball comes off flat, never climbs, and drops out of the air like a wounded duck. My carry number was 189 yards. The ball simply could not stay airborne long enough to use the speed I had. The engineering reason is simple physics that the marketing never explained to you. To carry a golf ball a long way at a slow speed, you need enough spin and enough launch to keep it flying. The optimal launch for a swing around 85 miles an hour sits closer to 14 or 15 degrees with spin near 2,500 RPM. These low spin tour heads were built to do the exact opposite. They were solving a problem you do not have and creating one you cannot see because your good shot still feels solid off the face. Feel is a liar. The number does not lie. And the cruelest part is the price. These drivers sold new for $500 or more, and plenty of seniors bought them precisely because they were the premium professional grade option. You paid the most money to lose the most yards. So this one ranks dead last. And if it is in your bag, it is the first thing I would pull. But here is the thing that should bother you even more. The next driver on the list is one people actively recommend to seniors, and it is barely better. The 4th place driver is the heavy shafted stock driver, and this one is sneaky because the head might actually be excellent. The problem is not the head, it is the stick screwed into it. So many drivers sold off the rack, even today, come with a stock shaft weighing 65, 70, even 75 grams with a stated stiff or regular flex that is stiffer than the label admits. Let me tell you what that weight does to a slower swing. When I tested the identical driver head with a stock 70-gram stiff shaft against a lighter setup, my swing speed with the heavy shaft was 84 miles an hour. My tempo felt labored on the range, like I was hauling the club through impact instead of releasing it. Carry came in at 196 yards, better than the low spin brick, but nothing to celebrate. The reason ties directly to your body. As we age, we lose fast twitch muscle and the raw torque to whip a heavy club through the hitting zone. Research on swing biomechanics has shown for years that shaft weight directly influences the speed a golfer can generate, and the effect is far larger for slower, smoother tempos than for aggressive, fast ones. A heavy shaft asks your body for strength it no longer has to give freely. You fight it, and the fight costs you speed, and lost speed is lost distance. Here is the maddening part. The head might be worth every penny. The technology in the face, the adjustable weighting, all of it could be genuinely helpful. But nobody at the counter checked the shaft against your actual swing, so the whole club underperforms because of a component that costs the manufacturer a few dollars. You bought a Ferrari and they filled it with the wrong fuel. That is why it ranks fourth. The potential is there, buried under bad fitting. Therefore, the question becomes obvious. If a lighter shaft is the fix, why doesn't every senior just grab the lightest club they can find? Because that leads straight into the third place trap. And it is the most common mistake I see on the range every single week. The third place driver is the ultralight, jumbo-headed game improvement driver marketed straight at seniors with promises of effortless distance. You have seen the ads. Featherweight, forgiving, made for the mature golfer. And here is where I have to be fair, because this driver is not a villain. It is a compromise, and you need to understand exactly what you are trading. These drivers pair a big, high-launching 460 cubic centimeter head with a shaft that can drop down to 45 grams or even lighter. When I tested one, my swing speed jumped to 88 miles an hour, 3 or 4 miles faster than the heavy setup. That is real, and that is good. Carry climbed to 206 yards. So far, this sounds like the answer. But here is the cost nobody mentions. That featherweight shaft is so light and often so whippy that my dispersion fell apart. My shots scattered 38 yards left to right across a group of drives that felt identical coming off the face. On the range, that is annoying. On the course, that is the difference between the fairway and a lost ball in the trees. And a lost ball is not a distance problem. It is a two-stroke problem. The lightness that bought me speed also stole my control because there was not enough mass in the shaft to keep the club face stable through impact for a swing that is not perfectly repeatable every time. And whose swing is perfectly repeatable at our age? Now, this is the part of the video for you specifically if you already own one of these drivers and you are not about to run out and drop $500 on a new one. I hear you, and I have been there staring at a driver I already paid good money for. You do not need to replace it. You need to adjust it, and here is exactly how. And before I give you those adjustments, I want to mention something that goes even deeper than what we can cover in a single video. I put together an ebook called Drive More, Drive Deeper, Drive Longer that lays out the complete senior driver fitting guide, every loft, shaft weight, and launch number match to swing speeds from 75 to 95 miles an hour. If you have been losing yards and wondering why nothing has fixed it, this is the resource I wish someone had handed me 2 summers ago standing behind that marker post. You can find the link waiting for you in the description below. So the third place driver gives you speed but robs you of control, and the fixes I just gave you patch some of that. But it still is not the best because it never solves the core stability problem, which brings me to the second place driver, the one that gets so much right. First, if that light driver has an adjustable hosel, and most of them made in the last decade do, add loft. Turn it up at least one full setting from, say, 10.5 degrees to 11.5 or 12. I did this, and my launch climbed from 12 degrees to 14, and my carry with the same swing went up 11 yards from 206 to 217. That gain cost me nothing but 2 minutes with the little wrench that came in the box you probably threw in a drawer. Second, move the tee up. Most seniors tee the ball too low out of a habit built decades ago when driver heads were the size of a plum. With a big modern head, tee it so half the ball sits above the crown at address. Hitting up on the ball even 2 degrees more adds launch and cuts spin in exactly the way a slower swing needs, and it is free. When I raised my tee height and focused on catching the ball slightly on the upswing, I gained another 6 yards of carry without swinging any harder. Third, and this is the cheapest fix of all, put a strip of impact tape on the face and hit 10 balls. I will bet money you are striking it low on the face toward the bottom grooves, which kills your ball speed and jacks up your spin. Just knowing where you actually make contact lets you adjust your tee height and ball position to find the sweet spot, and moving your strike up half an inch on the face can add 10 to 15 yards of carry all by itself. That is the free distance sitting in your current bag right now. The second place driver is the modern high launch driver built with a properly weighted mid-light shaft, the category that finally started matching the right head to the right stick for a slower swing. Around 2021 and after, the better manufacturers figured out that seniors did not just need light, they needed light with control, and they started offering stock shafts in the 50 to 55 gram range with genuinely softer, more accurate flex profiles designed for swings under 90 miles an hour. When I tested one of these dialed-in setups, everything came together. My swing speed held at 87 miles an hour, nearly as fast as the featherweight, but my dispersion tightened from that ugly 38 yards down to 21 yards. Carry reached 219 yards. Look at that progression. From 189 yards on the worst driver to 219 on this one with the identical swing. That is 30 yards, exactly the number I promised you at the start, and I found it without swinging one bit harder. The technology here is real and worth understanding. These heads carry a high moment of inertia, which is just a fancy way of saying they resist twisting when you miss the center. A high moment of inertia head keeps the face square on off-center hits, so your bad shots fly nearly as far and nearly as straight as your good ones. For a senior who cannot hit the center every time, and none of us can, that forgiveness is worth more than any raw speed number. The center of gravity in these heads sits low and back, which launches the ball high with just enough spin to hold it in the air, which is the exact recipe a slow swing needs to carry. This is a genuinely great driver, and for a lot of you, it is the right answer. It launches high, it flies straight, it forgives your misses, and the midweight shaft gives you speed without throwing away control. If you went out and bought this one tomorrow, you would gain yards, and I would not argue with you. But it is not number one, because everything I just described, the launch, the forgiveness, the carry, all of it depends on one variable that most golfers get wrong even when they buy the perfect driver, and that variable is the whole reason the number one pick exists. This is the fitting fact I told you about at the start, the one buried in the data that almost nobody over 50 has ever heard. The number one driver is not really about a single model at all. It is about the setup that unlocks any good modern head, and it comes down to loft. Real, measured, optimized loft matched to your actual swing speed. And here is the buried truth that the marketing has spent decades hiding from you. For most of golf history, loft was treated as a measure of your manhood. Real players hit 8.5 or 9 degrees. Higher lofts, 11, 12, 13 degrees, were quietly labeled as clubs for beginners and slow swingers, and no proud golfer wanted to be seen with one. That stigma is one of the most expensive lies ever sold to the amateur golfer, and it has cost seniors more yards than any other single thing in the bag. Here is what the robot testing actually shows. When engineers put drivers on a swing machine and dial it down to 85 miles an hour, the carry distance keeps climbing as they add loft all the way up past 13 and even 14 degrees. At that slower speed, a 15-degree driver often carries the ball farther than a 10.5-degree driver, sometimes by 15 or 20 yards, because the slow swing simply cannot generate enough launch and spin on its own to keep a low lofted ball in the air. The loft does the work. Your swing speed no longer can. The machine does not care about ego. It just prints the yardage. Let me give you my own numbers because I lived this. I had been playing a 10.5-degree driver for years, convinced anything higher was for people who could not play. On a whim, during all that testing, I bumped the same driver head up to 14 degrees, the highest my adjustable hosel would allow. I felt embarrassed even setting it there. Then I hit it. My launch angle climbed to 16 degrees. My spin settled right around 2,600 RPM, and my carry jumped to 226 yards. That is 37 yards more than the low spin tour driver I ranked in last place. 37 yards from the same body, the same speed, the same swing, just by adding loft I had been too proud to use. That is the number one pick. Not a specific badge on a specific head, but a properly forgiving modern high launch driver set to a loft between 12 and 14 degrees, fitted with a mid-light shaft around 50 grams and teed high so you catch it on the upswing. That combination is the closest thing to free distance that exists for a senior golfer, and the industry buried it under decades of ego marketing because low lofted tour drivers sounded more impressive in an advertisement. Here is how you act on this before your next round, and it costs you nothing if you already own an adjustable driver. Pull out that little wrench. Set your driver to the highest loft it offers. Tee the ball high, half of it above the crown. Then go to the range and hit 20 balls and just watch the ball flight. You will see it launch higher, and I promise you, land farther. If you have access to any launch monitor, even the cheap one at your local shop, look for a launch angle around 14 to 16 degrees and spin between 2,400 and 2,800 RPM. That is your carry distance sweet spot at senior swing speed, and it is the exact window the tour driver marketing spent years steering you away from. And if you are buying new, ignore the number on the sole that used to embarrass you. Ask for a driver you can set to 12 degrees or more, demand a shaft in the 50 to 55 gram range, and do not let anyone at the counter talk you into a heavier, lower lofted setup because it is what the better players use. You are not the better player they are fitting for. You are you with the swing you have right now, and the whole point is to get every yard that swing can produce. Think about what this really means. The average senior loses distance not because his body failed him, though age is real, but because he was sold equipment designed for a completely different golfer and told it was the premium choice. The low spin that helps a tour pro hurts you. The heavy shaft that a strong young player controls robs your speed. The low loft that looked professional bled away your carry 1 yard at a time, season after season, while you blamed your swing and your age and everything except the club you were told to trust. I want you to feel this because I felt it standing behind that marker post 2 summers ago. Those yards were never gone. They were sold back to you at a premium and hidden behind marketing that made the wrong club look like the smart choice. Getting them back does not require a new swing or a personal trainer or $500. It requires a wrench, a higher tee, and the willingness to ignore an ego lie the industry has been telling you for 30 years. So let me put the whole ranking back in front of you one more time because the progression is the proof. The old low spin tour driver carried 189 yards and ranks last. The distance thief dressed up as premium performance. The heavy shafted stock driver reached 196. Great head, wrong fuel. The ultralight senior special hit 206 but scattered 38 yards wide, speed with no control. The modern high launch mid-light driver carried 219 with tight dispersion, a genuinely great club. And the number one, any good forgiving head lofted up to 14 degrees and teed high, carried 226 yards straight down the middle. 37 yards unlocked from the same tired swing by refusing to believe the lie that low loft makes you a real golfer. You just took back distance the industry spent decades charging you to lose, and you did it with knowledge, not money. That is what makes this feel so good. You are not the golfer who gives up yards quietly and blames his age. You are the golfer who checks the number, questions the marketing, and plays the club that actually works for the swing he has today, not the swing he had at 30. Now I want to hear from you. Which one of these 5 is sitting in your bag right now? And be honest. Have you been playing a driver lofted under 11 degrees because you thought anything higher was for beginners? Tell me the exact make and loft of the driver you carry down in the comments because I read every single one and I want to see how many of you have been robbed by that low loft lie. Drop it below right now. And if you want the full breakdown, I put together an ebook with the complete senior driver fitting guide, every loft, shaft weight, and launch number matched to swing speeds from 75 to 95 miles an hour. And the link for that is waiting for you. If getting 30 yards back for free sounded good to you, then you belong here with the rest of us who refuse to overpay and refuse to lose yards quietly to an industry that thinks we will not check the numbers. Subscribe and stand with us, because next time I am putting 5 so-called senior-friendly golf balls on the launch monitor, and I found one 2-piece ball selling for half the price of the premium models that actually spun more around the green at our swing speed. You are not going to believe which name brand ball it beat. I will see you in that one. I'm the one who measured all of this, and the full launch monitor fitting for your slower swing, the part that picks up right where this video stopped, is waiting inside the Senior Fairway Club. In there, you can ask me your own question, and I answer you myself. No robots. You won't be alone. Senior golfers like you are already in there with me. Just point your phone's camera at the code on your screen. Cancel anytime. One click. If this helped you understand your driver a little better, stay with me. I have plenty more simple golf tips right here to help you find those lost yards. Go ahead and subscribe.